This about the future of corporate and general aviation here with all the expansion in the terminal and the airline facilities. What do you see ahead for what's across the field?
Well, again, I think that corporate aviation really relies on the growth of businesses in the region. So if we can continue to see economic growth, then I think you're going to see an uptick in their business. I think, this airport is positioned to do things in general aviation that other airports can't do because of the property and the assets we have here. So I think flight training schools, locating maintenance facilities, things like that are something that we should see more of. I mean, I was just in Milwaukee, and I can tell you the ramp for their corporate and general aviation was full every day, but it was a reflection of the economy and what was going on in that community, and that's kind of how this is, So it's kind of with as everything comes up, their business is going to come up too. But it's a tough business. I mean, it's one that you got to work at every day to survive it.
Well, one of the things I've discovered as the research has begun is after the Army left here and left all those hangars, that NCR, Meade, the local corporations all had DC-3s out here. And there was actually a very early genesis of corporate aviation that was over there. And even after this terminal came here and those hangars were there for a while, there was McCall's, there was General Motors, there was Meade and NCR, and GM had a huge facility.
But that's a unique thing about this area that people don't appreciate is the link with the auto industry and what was going on up the road in Detroit. Because all of the giants of auto were all into aviation, had airplanes. I mean, the Ford family, you went right across the board. I mean, if you go up to Detroit, you look at Willow Run, Detroit City Airport. I mean, all those facilities got their start because the auto industry in Detroit and all those families were into aviation.
Well, I found it interesting that...
And these guys down here were all part of that.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they were all tied, joined at the hip with the auto industry.
I find it interesting as this is developed that Charles Kettering wanted to develop the airport south of town to have a separate corporate general aviation facility than was here. So I wonder if they felt that would be moved out of here.
Well, even today, if you talk to the FBOs here, they're concerned about the South Airport because I'm talking about extending the runway down there. And if I extend the runway, some of the equipment that's based up here could move down there, begin to use that airport. So, I mean, there's still that dynamic between Dayton South, Dayton Wright Brothers Airport, and the FBOs up here. They just soon leave it alone. It'd be better for them.
Sure. Is there enough, to extend the runway? I know north, you can't go north, so I guess you would have to go.
That's where we're going, is north.
Oh, so would you cross the road?
We'll either move the road or go over the top of the road. We're
starting to study.
Well, when you look up Austin, across 741, the road goes uphill now. It goes over a hill. So we've looked at that, but we have a plan now that shows it looping out around the runway, so we can put another. We'd like to get 1,000 feet on it because right now it's 4,500 displaced threshold for landing. So that's the plan. Be able to do that.
That would be.
We actually have, we have the planes coming in on that runway now that need more length. We have Challengers and fairly good-sized jets landing there today. But when we get contaminated conditions like wet runway or snow, those planes generally have to come up here and land. It's kind of a unique GA airport because we do have a broom truck down there. We do have it staffed. In a snow event, we have staff down there keeping it clean. Most of the general aviation airports would be closing up shop in 1 or 2 inches of snow, where we keep that open and sand it. So it's got a little bit different following than a lot of GA airports.
Isn't all the flight training operations now in the Dayton airports down there? I don't think there's any flight training up here.
There may be flight training going on up here. We wouldn't be aware of it. There could be people that are giving. I know that the pilots, a lot of the GA pilots up here get recertified and stuff like that. But Sinclair Community College is running their flight school out of Dayton Wright Brothers Airport, and that really accounts for a lot of the traffic down there in the afternoon.
How that's a good last question then about your interface with the local universities. I know they don't have their own airplanes, but Sinclair has an aviation program.
Right.
The other two, the UD and Wright State, don't really have much of an aviation program.
No.
So has Sinclair been a good?
But
good
our business running an airport isn't about aviation. I mean, I
no.
didn't know about aviation when I got. I mean, I wasn't formally trained. I wasn't a pilot. But I had a lot of skill sets that worked for me to get into the business. And we have 4 interns here right now. We have 4 interns a year from the local universities, and I don't think we've had one yet that's been an aviation person.
So it's a business program, and it's
right.
Public relations.
Well, it's engineering, it's administration, it's finance, it's planning. It's a lot of operations, police, fire. It's a lot of different things that have nothing to do with aviation. At the end of the day, when I first got here, there was a lot of focus on all the land the airport owns and what was I going to do with the property and how am I going to develop it. And my response to all that for the first few years I was here was my focus is on passenger air service, because if we don't have passengers, then we're no longer an airport. So that's something we haven't talked about, but that's something, if you want to know what I'm really worried about and what keeps me up at night and what do I focus on, it's air service, because of, as I tell people all the time, our commitment from the airlines is good till tomorrow. And call me tomorrow and I'll tell you if they showed up or not. Because, that's essentially what it is today. And we've gone from 7 major players who were servicing the airport to this year 4, and right now one of those players is talking about gobbling up a couple more low fare airlines. The head of Southwest last week was speculating that they're going to buy a low fare carrier. So that's the thing I worry about for small communities like Dayton, and we are. Generally we're a small air service community with a couple of million passengers a year. I think we're the 80th largest airport in the U.S., in the top 100, but very difficult right now to get additional air service in markets like ours. So that's something that I'm really, really focused on, because everything we talk about, terminal renovations, all the good things that we talk about doing are not going to happen if we're not successful with air service, because that's what generates majority of the revenue for the airport.
So you see this, in addition to being the city of Dayton Airport, it's actually a regional facility that goes, because there's not another major airport till you get to Toledo, and Indianapolis and Columbus.
Well,
so
and we get passengers from Toledo.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we really look at 16 counties as our service area. Our immediate catchment area is Montgomery County, a little bit of Greene County, Warren County, an area where we get 80% of our passengers, but then the other 20% are coming, for as far as 2 hours away from this airport to take a flight. So
that's pretty interesting. So a regional footprint as far as your communications and your public relations and your advertising goes much farther than the local area.
Southwest Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Wow, that's great. This is perfect. Thank you very much.